Hey everybody, welcome back to the Frugal Filmmaker Q&A, the show where you ask me a question and I Google it and read you back the answer. If you like your question read on the show, your best bet is to email me at thefrugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment below, or you can ask me a question on Twitter at Frugal Filmmaker. My video last week was building a teleprompter around the Frugal cage, and if you've got a Frugal cage and you would like a teleprompter system, you might want to check that out. It's a really inexpensive way to add a teleprompter onto the Frugal cage, although a lot of people told me that the camera was too close or the font was too big in the teleprompter because my eyes kept darting back and forth. I'm not exactly sure what they were talking about. All right, I did notice my eyes going back and forth in post, and at that point, of course, there was nothing I can do about it. But it is good advice. Use a larger font in the prompter or move the camera back. I really can't move the camera back in my setup, but I'll try and use a larger font or do something to fix that because it was distracting. I did notice it in post. We've got a lot of great questions today, so I'm going to jump right into the first one. This is from Kyle Markham. He says, "Hey Scott, I'm going to be starting my own production company. Congratulations. And I have a large budget for gear. What is a better route to go? Better glass or better gear?" And in between these two things, Kyle lists a whole bunch of things that he's getting, and he comes to the point where he can get some really nice Zeiss compact primes, but he's going to sacrifice some other gear like a shoulder rig and an external monitor, or he can go the Rokinon route where he can get some budget Rokinon glass and the external monitor and the shoulder rig. So he's kind of asking me, should he go for the most expensive glass he can get at the sacrifice of other gear? And I'm going to say no. I think you should, I'm a big believer in balance, and I think that if you go with the lower cost lenses, you can get a bunch of other stuff that's going to be really, really important. I think external monitor is really important. I've really enjoyed using one ever since I've got one. I think it's critical. So while Zeiss primes are nice, it's probably some of the best glass you're ever going to get, or most people are only able to rent those because it's really expensive. I'm going to say spread it out. Spread out the money and go for maybe some slightly lower quality glass so that you can get some of this other gear that I think is important, because you're going to want that other stuff. And you might have really nice lenses, but you're going to be wishing you had some of this other stuff in the meantime. So that's my opinion. Of course, everybody else can leave their opinion below. That's what I think. All right, our next question comes from Omar, who says, "Recently I started shooting a show with two of my friends. I've looked into many audio solutions for it, none of which seem to work. And I have no audio equipment, and my budget is around $100. And then Omar kind of goes into several situations that he's tried different things, and none of them seem to work for $100. So here's my solution, Omar, for you, and other people can comment. You've only got $100 and you've got two people you want a mic, and Omar clearly indicates that he wants an external recorder, but the Zoom H1 new, of course, is $100, as many of you know. However, you can get them used for less money, usually $50, maybe $60. I think you could probably get a used one for $50 on eBay. So here's my solution. You get everything used. You get a used Zoom H1, you get two used Radio Shack 3013 clip-on mics. That's what I'm using. That's what I've been using for a while, this one right here. Get two of those used, that's about 15 bucks a piece. And then you get an adapter, which allows you, it's a stereo adapter that will plug into your Zoom H1 and let you input two mono channels, your left and right channels, into the Zoom H1. So plug both of your lavs into that and then into the Zoom H1. That'll be $100. That way you can put both lav mics on two people like you want, and you'll have an external recorder like you want. The only sacrifice, of course, is that you're not going to be able to run levels on those individual mics. So you're going to have to switch over to auto gain control, which you can on the back of the Zoom H1. And I realize this isn't the ideal situation because me personally, I want to be able to control the level of each mic. But if you've only got $100, there's no way you're going to be able to introduce a mixer into that setup. But you will be able to have a microphone on each person, and they can both run into the Zoom, and the Zoom can handle the level control. Again, not the best situation, not one that I don't really like to do, but something's going to have to give with $100. All right, next up we have Brent, who says, "I've got plans to shoot about 20 softball games this summer. I'm using 45 video cameras to capture different angles and parts of the field. Any advice for either shooting during games and or editing in post?" I've worked a lot of sporting events, but I've never shot one in the way that you're doing, but I have shot ballets in the way that you're doing, although I've shot them over several performances with one camera kind of moving around in different positions and then cutting them all together in post. So I don't know if you have somebody manning each camera or if it's just you, where you've set up several still cameras or several static cameras and you're going to run one of them, or maybe you're not running any of them. My advice would be to at least get on one of those cameras so that you can have a camera with some motion while you're running close-ups. And if you have somebody on every camera, or if it's just you, my biggest advice is always act like you're on all the time or that you're live, because you're never going to know when you're going to need that certain angle. And if every camera operator is acting like they're live all the time, they're going to be on their game 100%, and they're always going to have the shot that you need in post. So if it's just you doing that, that's advice for you. If you have camera operators for every camera, tell them all that, because your footage will be much better versus them just thinking, oh, well, they can cut away at any time, so that this shot isn't necessarily that great, it doesn't matter. But if you tell them, act like you're live all the time, then you'll always have good footage. Next up is Mike Higgins, who says, I have some LED light rings that I hope to use on a classroom document camera to brighten the images a bit. Although these are white LEDs, the light has a decidedly blue tint, which distorts colors seen through the camera. The images will be seen in real time by the audience, so there's no way to take this out in post, since there won't be any post. Is there some type of filter or diffuser I can use to try to get a more natural look from these? Well, you know, the way you handle this, Mike, is the same exact way you handle it in post. You say, even though there isn't any post, you want to remove the color that you don't like. And in this case, you're talking about LEDs skewing blue. And if you go to a site on the internet called, well, it used to be called Kuhler, Adobe Color, now it's Adobe Color CC, I believe. It's a free website, and you can go there, and it has color wheels just like you have in post. You can look at complementary colors and all different opposing colors, and it's a really awesome site for if you want anything to do with color. So if you look at what is the opposite of light blue, you will see that it's yellow, and close to yellow is orange, and of course now you have access to CTO, or color temperature orange gels, that you can put on your LED lights that will draw some of that blue light out so that it looks more natural. Now of course any LED light usually has some kind of tungsten filter that you can slap in there, and I'm not sure if you have those or not, but if you don't have those tungsten filters or those orange filters, you can always get CTO gels and put those on. So that should help you with exactly what you want here. Okay, finally we have a question from Kevin Tretta, who says, do you have any tips to stay loyal to a project? They all start out so well and I've got so much hope for them, but something switches and I just hate the project after a few weeks. This is a really good question because it's some kind of phenomenon I think we all experience as writers. And that's that, you know, how can you possibly create a project that you can't stand? Well, if you can't stand it, it's a bad sign, you shouldn't be doing it. With me personally, I'll write something, and if I can get through it, if I can write the script, that's usually a good sign, because a lot of times I'll just get mad and throw it out because I know it's not working. But if I can get through it, and then if I like it the next day as much as I did the day before, that's how I maintain confidence that, hey, this might be good. Of course, you can always share it with people and get their opinion. You can put it up on the internet, try the Frugal Filmmaker Facebook group, get input that way. Get input from everybody before you do it, because that's a common mistake we can all make. I do it too. So you think your project's so awesome, and then you don't share it with anybody, and there are things in there that might not work, and then you end up shooting them, and those things still don't work because they didn't work at the screenplay level. So there you go. All right, that's everything this week. Remember, if you'd like your question read on the show, send it to thefrugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. That's your best chance of having it read on the show. I'll try and answer you in email as well, or you can comment below, or you can send me a question on Twitter @frugalfilmmaker. And of course, like everything else, I don't have the answers for everything, and there's people watching this that probably have or may have better answers. So please comment below and help the people out. I'll have another video this week on Thursday or Friday, and then another Q&A on Monday. Again, thanks for all your letters. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.